The world was stunned when a prominent Chinese professor, widely respected for his expertise in comparative religion and philosophy, delivered a lecture that quickly captured global attention. Speaking to a full auditorium at one of Beijing's most prestigious universities, he shared the results of years of meticulous research into world religions, emphasizing Islam's unique contributions to humanity. With carefully chosen words and scholarly references, he explained how Islamic teachings encompass a deep spiritual dimension that guides individuals toward moral integrity, compassion, and social responsibility. His lecture went beyond mere theory, highlighting historical examples where Islamic principles shaped education, science, art, and governance in ways that benefited entire societies. Students and academics in attendance were captivated, taking notes furiously as he drew parallels between Islamic ethics and universal human values. The atmosphere was electric, with many audience members reporting a sense of awe at the clarity and depth of his analysis. Within hours, clips from the lecture began circulating on social media platforms, sparking discussions, debates, and widespread admiration. People praised the professor for his courage in presenting such an unconventional viewpoint in a country where Islam is often misunderstood, noting that his approach was neither sensationalist nor biased but grounded in rigorous scholarship. Commentators highlighted that what made the lecture particularly remarkable was the professor's ability to communicate complex theological and philosophical concepts in a way that was accessible to students and laypeople alike. Academics began analyzing his claims in journals and blogs, dissecting his arguments and appreciating the intellectual honesty behind them. Many were struck by his emphasis on the holistic nature of Islam, not just as a religion, but as a framework for life that integrates ethical conduct, social justice, and personal spirituality. The lecture ignited curiosity and inspired some students to pursue further studies in Islamic culture, history, and philosophy. Discussions spilled over into online forums and community groups, creating a lively exchange of ideas among people from diverse backgrounds. For many, it was a revelation to hear a Chinese scholar openly acknowledge and praise the virtues of Islam, highlighting how the religion has influenced global civilization in profound and often underappreciated ways. By the end of the day, the lecture had become a cultural phenomenon, with news outlets covering the event and labeling it a rare example of cross-cultural academic insight. The professor's careful, respectful, and thoughtful presentation left a lasting impression, setting the stage for broader conversations about religion, morality, and the common values that unite humanity. After the lecture went viral, reactions began pouring in from all corners of the world, creating an unprecedented global conversation. Islamic scholars, both in China and abroad, expressed admiration for the professor's deep understanding and objective approach. They highlighted how rare it was for a non-Muslim academic to recognize the intellectual, spiritual, and social contributions of Islam without bias. Social media platforms buzzed with praise, as videos of the lecture were shared thousands of times, accompanied by comments lauding the professor's courage and insight. International news outlets quickly picked up the story, framing it as a striking example of cross-cultural respect and scholarly integrity. Articles in Europe, North America, and the Middle East examined his arguments, often highlighting his analysis of how Islamic values of justice, compassion, and community cohesion have influenced societies throughout history. Some critics, however, were skeptical, questioning whether the professor's praise overlooked challenges faced in modern Islamic societies. Despite the criticism, his message remained clear. To understand a religion's true value, one must study its teachings, historical impact, and ethical framework rather than rely on stereotypes or political narratives. The academic community responded with heightened interest. Universities hosted panel discussions and forums where theologians, sociologists, and historians debated the professor's claims. Scholars dissected his points on Islamic governance, law, and social ethics, while also exploring parallels with Confucianism, Buddhism, and Christianity. These debates enriched public understanding and demonstrated that interfaith dialogue could be rooted in intellectual rigor rather than mere tolerance. Meanwhile, ordinary people engaged passionately online. Students, young professionals, and curious citizens began exploring Islamic texts, history, and cultural practices after watching the lecture. Forums and blogs recorded thoughtful conversations about moral philosophy, the role of religion in society, and the universality of ethical principles. Many expressed that the professor's work challenged their preconceptions and encouraged them to approach Islam, and religion in general, with an open, inquisitive mind. In China, the lecture sparked a subtle shift in public discourse. While Islam remains a minority religion, conversations about its philosophical depth and societal contributions became more mainstream. Local media covered interviews with students who said they were inspired to study Islamic culture academically, while community leaders praised the professor for promoting understanding and mutual respect. Globally, his lecture became a reference point in interfaith studies, symbolizing a rare bridge between Eastern scholarship and Islamic thought. Ultimately, the professor's lecture became more than an academic event. It became a catalyst for dialogue, introspection, and cross-cultural exchange, leaving a lasting impression on audiences worldwide. As the professor's lecture continued to gain international attention, the conversation moved beyond social media into academic institutions and public discourse, igniting a wave of rigorous debate and thoughtful analysis. Universities across China and other countries began organizing panels, seminars, and workshops where experts in theology, philosophy, and sociology examined his claims about Islam's unique contributions to humanity. Scholars debated the historical, ethical, and social dimensions he highlighted, comparing Islamic principles with those of Confucianism, Christianity, Buddhism, and other major faiths. The discussions were often intense, with panelists analyzing everything from Islamic jurisprudence and governance models to its approaches to education, science, and social justice. Media coverage intensified, with interviews on television, podcasts, and online talk shows featuring the professor explaining his research in greater detail. He emphasized that Islam's strength lies in its holistic approach. Spiritual, moral, and societal aspects are deeply interconnected. He illustrated how concepts such as compassion, justice, charity, and community responsibility are embedded in everyday practices and governance in Islamic history. His explanations resonated with viewers, many of whom expressed that they had never considered religion in such a structured, ethical, and practical framework before. Public engagement also soared. Students began forming study groups, exploring Islamic philosophy, literature, and history, often drawing parallels with Chinese traditions. Online forums, discussion boards, and blogs hosted thousands of conversations, with users sharing insights, debating interpretations, and asking thoughtful questions about faith, morality, and cultural exchange. Social media influencers and educators created accessible summaries of the professor's lecture, making the ideas widely digestible for younger audiences. The lecture's impact was not limited to academic circles. Muslim communities in China reported feeling a renewed sense of recognition and respect, as their beliefs and practices were being discussed thoughtfully in mainstream education. At the same time, the broader public gained a nuanced perspective of Islam, countering long-standing stereotypes and misconceptions. Educational institutions took notice, incorporating cross-cultural religious studies into their curricula, inspired by the professor's approach to comparative religion. Ultimately, this season of public discourse and academic engagement demonstrated that understanding religion requires both intellectual curiosity and open-mindedness. The professor's work became a bridge between cultures, encouraging dialogue, mutual respect, and collaborative learning. His lecture inspired a generation to think critically, engage sincerely, and appreciate the richness of Islam not only as a religion but as a framework for ethical living and societal development. Months after the lecture first went viral, the professor's insights continued to reverberate across academic circles, social media, and public discourse, leaving a lasting mark on both scholarship and society. His analysis of Islam as a holistic framework, integrating spirituality, ethics, and social responsibility, was now being cited in research papers, university courses, and interfaith dialogues around the world. Many educators began including his lectures as part of curricula in religious studies, philosophy, and cultural exchange programs, emphasizing the importance of understanding different belief systems with nuance and respect. Muslim communities in China and beyond welcomed the recognition, viewing it as a rare affirmation of their faith from a respected non-Muslim intellectual. Religious leaders noted that the professor's work had created a more informed public perception of Islam, helping to reduce prejudice and encourage intercultural understanding. In classrooms and online forums, students shared how the lecture inspired them to explore Islamic philosophy, history, and literature in ways they had never done before, fostering both personal growth and cross-cultural curiosity. Internationally, the professor's work sparked collaborations between Chinese and Islamic institutions. Conferences, joint research projects, and exchange programs were established, aiming to deepen knowledge and dialogue between scholars of different faiths. His message that the value of a religion should be measured not by stereotypes or politics but by its ethical principles, historical contributions, and spiritual depth resonated globally. The professor himself reflected on the unexpected impact of his lecture, expressing gratitude for the conversations it had initiated. He emphasized that learning about Islam, and all religions, requires an open mind, critical thinking, and a willingness to see beyond preconceived notions. He hoped that his work would inspire future generations to approach religion with curiosity and respect, understanding that the world thrives when cultures and belief systems are studied thoughtfully rather than judged superficially. Ultimately, the lecture became more than an academic milestone. It evolved into a movement for intercultural understanding, bridging East and West, scholar and student, faith and reason. By encouraging dialogue, reflection, and mutual respect, the professor's message underscored a timeless truth, that knowledge, empathy, and open-mindedness are the foundations of a harmonious and enlightened society.